you're good.
Okay.
This is the JT Sports Show, episode 14, I want to say. Today's show, we have a very special guest. If you're a Timberwolves fan or a Lynx fan, if you go to Target Center a good amount, you will know this guy. His name is Jon Berry. He is the Timberwolves in-arena host. John, thank you for doing this. Two Johns
Absolutely.
here, actually.
Yeah.
First thing I want to talk about with you is how you got this job, because it is a pretty sweet gig. You get to be on the court for a lot of
Mhm.
the time while the game's going. Well, not necessarily when the game's going on, but I don't know, throwing T-shirts to the crowd, hyping the crowd up, doing all that stuff. How did you get this gig?
It started, let's see here, 2014. It started before that. I've been a season ticket member for 10 years now, at least 10 years.
Yeah.
There was a year, the Ricky Rubio first year, where I didn't have season tickets, but I had season tickets before then. So I've been a season ticket holder for about 12 years in total.
Yeah.
And I would always, tell my wife, like, oh, hey, I could do that. That looks easy. That looks like a fun job when I'd see the other people do it. And I was sitting at work one day and she texts me, put your money where your mouth is. Basically, there's an open audition for an in-arena host for the Wolves. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll do it. I'll do it to just to say I did it.
Yeah.
And so she could never, say that you didn't even try out. How could you say you could do it?
Yeah.
So I went and I tried out the first tryout. I think I've ever been more nervous in my life or something. So I walked into Target Center completely empty. There's no backboards. There's no basketball hoops. There's no court. There's literally just an open arena with a concrete floor.
Yeah.
And your voice echoes throughout the building. So that's kind of nerve-wracking as well, too. So I did it. And I was like, hey, cool. I did it. They're not going to call me back. Who am I? I'm just, a season ticket holder, whatever. So I get a call back and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I was like, I'm not awful. I'm not the worst, but I'm probably not the best. They probably just want to, see me against these other people that I've tried out. So I did it a second time. Same thing. You're in the middle of the court. You're doing this audition. Nerve-wracked again. Great. I was like, okay, we're good now. That's two. I was like, okay, that's fun. Okay, we'll see you in the fall. I'll be in my seat and we'll go from there. I get another call back. This is the third audition. I'm just like, oh, this is serious now. This is three. They wouldn't have called me back for three if they didn't have some sort of inclination that they liked me.
Yeah.
So do the third audition. I was like, okay, now we're at the end. Okay, that's good. I was like, I'm not going to get it. I'm going to get a call saying thanks, but we're going to try someone else first, or we're going to try someone else.
Yeah.
I'm standing in my backyard, end of September, and I get the call saying, yeah, John, we want you to be our in-arena host. We're going to try it out we've never done this before with just you're essentially a fan who tried out to do it and you got it. So we'll give you 6 weeks. We'll see how it goes. And 8 years, 9 seasons later, here I am talking to you in my backyard. So that's kind of how it went.
Have you and Katie been together? How long has she been there?
This will be her 10th season. So she was there a year before I was.
Gotcha.
So Katie, this will be her 10th season. This will be my 9th. So we've been together the entire time.
When the Wolves are, let's say, not very good and there's not a lot of people in the building, how difficult is it to I guess bring the energy that you would also bring to when, I don't know, you're playing the Clippers in the playing game on a normal Tuesday night against the Pacers when there's 50% capacity?
I've been at those games when there's 50% capacity. The night after Kobe died, we played the Kings on a random Tuesday night, and there was probably 25% in the building. You still have to bring that energy because there could be someone there who's never been to Target Center, who's never seen NBA basketball. And I want that person to leave the arena with the same sort of energy and enthusiasm for me as they would get in game 4 against Memphis or a playing game against the Clippers. So that's where my motivation comes to and bringing the hype. And plus, I'm a fan. Like, I'm a super fan. Like, I know you're
Yeah.
a fan, but you take your fandom and multiply it by 10, that's where you get to me. So my fandom out supersedes anybody in that arena. And so I want to express that to everybody else in the building that I am the super fan.
I appreciate that. I'd like to go toe to toe with you in fandom, but uh, I don't know how we'll be there. Last year,
Mm-hmm.
the Timberwolves obviously were better, and I felt like halfway through the year, D'Angelo Russell called out the fans, and it was that Charlotte Hornets game where the fans all of a sudden were just boisterous. It was the opening tip. Sean Parker was getting louder. The fans were louder. Everyone was standing on their feet. Do you think that was the turning point in this fan base? Or did you think like at the beginning of the year last year was different? Where do you think this fan base decided to start showing up and showing out loudly?
I mean, the fan base has always been there when the team is really good.
Yeah.
I think the fans were still in sort of this limbo area. Is this team going to be really good? Is this team going to be something I can really get behind? Because you have to understand, like, there's 30 years of, you know, heartbreak for this team, and I've experienced all of it.
Yeah.
And so I think the Wolves fans are a little bit, you know, a little bit scared to dip their toe in the water because they don't want to
Yeah.
get hearts broken again. So it's a little bit on the fans. It's a little bit on the players. I mean, it's a little bit about everybody. We all have to sort of just jump in together. And so that's kind of what happened with D'Lo and the fans is like, okay, this is the moment where we jump in together and say, okay, D'Lo, okay, Wolves, we trust you. Take us
Yeah.
there. And the Wolves responded after that, and the fans responded in kind. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. I always try to tell people that because I'm a massive basketball fan, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
surrounded by a bunch of hockey fans. I live in Edina, a bunch of hockey people in Edina,
Okay.
not a lot of basketball people. But I think there's a ton of closet basketball fans in this state. And they always try to tell me, well, Wild games are sold out every night. Well, I try to tell them if the Timberwolves weren't one of the worst franchises in all the or sports, I think they would get a massive amount more people. Whereas the Wild have always been playoff contenders, and obviously it is considered the state of hockey. But I think especially Minneapolis and suburbs around Minneapolis, there's a ton of basketball fans, and so I was excited to see what happened last year. I think this year could be even better. Um, I that's enough on that. I want to talk to you about how players that you've gotten not necessarily super close to, but being in the job you have, you obviously are around the players a decent amount. Are there any players that you've grown relationships more than others? Like obviously you're not probably best friends with them because they're players and you're on the sidelines, but talk to me about some players that you think maybe some of your favorites that you really enjoyed.
My favorite current player is Karl Anthony Towns. Him and I have been in the league the same. I say the league. He plays in the league. I'm just a guy on the sideline.
Yeah.
We've worked in the NBA the same amount of time. My first year was actually my second year was his first year. So I've been in there 1 year longer than he has. But my thing with the players is I let them do their thing. I'm like, I'm not trying to be buddy with them because if you think about it, I'm older than all of them.
Yeah.
And so it's a generational gap. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like 10 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like having little brothers who are 7 feet tall, which is a weird dynamic as well. But for my entire time here, Carl has been the consistent person throughout the entire my Wolves hosting gig, and he's met my kids. I dap him up on the sideline whenever he's there. You know,
Yeah.
we're very cordial to each other. I went to a road game once in Phoenix. I just happened to be staying at the hotel. I ran into him at the hotel. He ran up to me and said, "Hey, what's up, John?" And I was like, "What's up, Carl?" And we're just very professional and cordial around each other. So Carl's
Yeah.
been one of my favorite people to work with, and I try to just let the players do their thing when I'm at an event with them or charity functions. You just let them do their thing because that's their job. And I'm not going to stand in the way because I'm a huge fan. Other people are fans too,
Yeah.
and I get to see them on a game-to-game basis. My favorite alumni player was Doug West. And I
Yeah.
love when Doug West comes back into town. Same thing with Sprewell.
Yeah.
When Latrell and Doug West come back into town, I love it. Those two are phenomenal. Troy Hudson's a really awesome player to talk to. He's awesome to work with as well when we do events as well. So those are my three favorite players when they come back into Minnesota, and the fans love them as well too.
That's cool. I think Cat, for some reason, a lot of people, not necessarily in Minnesota, but they for some reason think there's weird things about him that they can't attach to him like other players like Anthony Edwards. But I've always been a huge Cat guy, and you don't find players that are as loyal to the team, especially a team in Minnesota, as Cat has been. So that's cool.
Cat has made this his home.
Yeah.
He has lived up to every promise so far. The next one is holding Larry O'Brien in the air. That's the next one. So Cat has consistently been Cat throughout this entire run. And so I as a fan, I couldn't expect more.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Talking about games, what would you say are your top 3 games that you've been at Target Center any year?
Personally or like game wise?
Personally, it doesn't matter. Anything.
Okay, so I mean there's a lot. You talk about game 82
against the Nuggets,
against Denver. Personally, it's the first game that I ever did. We played Chicago in 2014. That's one of my favorite games. I only had one hit and my voice cracked, but it's still to be a part of it was amazing. The game where KG came back, that's still one of my favorite games. Obviously the play-in game, and then these past playoff games. So game 3, 4, and 6. Just the anticipation, the hype, the energy in the arena, just all of it have been some of my favorite to be a part of.
Yeah. I agree. I was at that Nuggets game 82 game. That was the first ever Timberwolves game that I was at where it felt like a playoff atmosphere. Like you go to some NBA teams and it probably feels like playoff atmosphere every game, but that game was off the rockers. And then my favorite game was the playing game this year. That was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, no, that was definitely crazy.
Yeah. What are the 2 or 3 loudest moments Target Center has ever been, in your opinion?
The KG intro, which literally had me in tears. It had me in tears. If you remember 2018, 2019, game 3 against Houston, you could hear Wolves chant, Wolves fans, Wolves in 6, Wolves in 6. That was really loud in game 3. And then game 4 just went pear-shaped and it was awful. But that was some of the loudest. And then the playing game, some of the loudest I've ever heard Target Center. Not the loudest I've ever heard Target Center. The loudest I've ever heard Target Center was game 2 of the Western Conference Finals in 2004, which I was there, sitting up in section 240 row Z in the way up there. I just wanted to be in the building. I didn't care. I was a broke college student spending what money I didn't have on trying to get into the building. And I did. And that was, no, it was game 2, the Kings series, not the Western Conference Finals, the semifinals. The Sam Cassell game, where he does the dance and injures himself, allegedly. So that's the loudest I've ever heard Target Center. And I think if that run happens again this year, which I don't doubt it will, I think it could get even louder.
Yeah. I just dream about those moments because I was never going to those games. I was way too young. But last year's dunk, Anthony Edwards' dunk against the Heat, that's one of the loudest moments. And then that dunk against the Clippers when they were on their run, and then Ant drives down the lane for that dunk. That was pretty crazy. Let's talk about this season a little bit. Obviously, the Rudy Gobert trade. Where were you, and what were your immediate thoughts when that trade happened?
I was at home. Just, it's a Friday, just hanging out, and I come across Twitter. And I was like, oh, okay, this is happening. I was like, all right, cool. That's a really great trade.
Yeah.
Um, and everybody's worried about the draft compensation. Everybody's worried about the number of players that were given up and who was given up specifically. If you have an opportunity to add a 3-time defensive player of the year, a more than likely first ballot Hall of Fame player to your team,
Yeah.
you do it. I would have been a little cringeworthy if Jaden McDaniels was a part of that deal, but I understand why they had to give up so much draft capital is to keep Jaden, because we all see Jaden as the next one with Ant.
Yeah.
Those two growing together and becoming, dare I say, Scotty and Michael. So I mean, that's maybe preposterous at this point, but that's how I see that.
Yeah, well, why not think about it that way? I was on a golf course on the 16th hole, and I quit. Couldn't play any
You
longer.
just quit.
Yeah, I couldn't play any longer. I was just refreshing Twitter, everything. My head was spinning. But I am very excited. You have Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels, the young guys. You have D'Lo and Cat, who are already here, and now you add a future Hall of Famer probably in Rudy Gobert.
And we all trust Finch to really make sure that everybody's happy in this whole system. And not to say too, like, Tim Connolly's done a really good job of getting players around the fringes as well too, not just bringing in Rudy Gobert, but also, Bryn Forbes and Austin Rivers. Austin Rivers, everyone sort of forgets that he was the main playmaker in Denver when Jamal Murray went down. So it was Austin Rivers doing his thing. So to get somebody like that in as insurance backup for D'Lo or just be another ball handler on the court, I think was really good. Kyle Anderson is an underrated player. I think he's going to bring a lot of versatility off the bench. Bringing Taurean Prince back is fantastic. I think they've got a really solid bench. And I can't wait to see all of them. This team is deep.
Yeah.
It is very deep. And Finch is a magician. So let's see what Finchy does with everybody and see how it goes.
Yeah, it felt weird adding players like Austin Rivers and Kyle Anderson, Bryn Forbes, because the Wolves in the past weren't the team going to grab veteran help from the minimum contracts.
Yep.
So obviously that helps with depth. Do you make predictions ever?
In my head, yes, not outwardly.
All right.
But yeah, in my head.
All right. Well, you don't need to. I'm just hoping for 50+ wins this year.
I think that's acceptable. You can accept that. I think that can happen easily.
Now they won 46 games last year, I believe, correct? Yeah.
And you're saying this team is 4 wins better.
Now, I think on paper they're much better than last year's team. Yeah. But the Western Conference is a lot better also. So,
but if you think about who they lost to last year, some of those games, the 2 Orlando games, some of those early games too. If you clean that up a little bit, you can easily get to 50, 52, even 55 wins.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know. It's going to be a learning curve at the early in the early part of the season. They have 2 home games to start the season off, so hopefully they can start 2-0.
You know this? How do you know this?
Dane Moore on Twitter.
Oh, Dane Moore. Oh,
yeah, they're opening October 19th against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay.
And then 2 days later, the Jazz come to town, where we'll see all of the former players.
Gotcha.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I didn't want to take too much of your time.
Absolutely, man.
Do you have any information on who the public address announcer is? I auditioned and never got back.
I don't have any clue on who that is going to be. Sean Parker was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And, and I'm saying this as a friend, he's going to be missed. Whoever they get, it's going to be tough shoes to fill because Sean was fantastic.
Yeah, he'll be missed, and I think Dave Benz will be missed. 2 guys with great voices. So thank you for doing this, John.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can talk again soon. But
I'm available.
Sweet. I'll be back probably on Friday for the next JT Sports Show to talk whatever's happening, Vikings, Twins, Wolves, Gophers, whatever it is. So peace out. Thank you.